One guy that I'm kind of interested to see how his season goes was one of my favorite streaming options at tight end last year because I had so much trouble finding a good one. But Zack Miller with the Bears, Martellus Bennett is gone. He's now finally getting a chance to be the starter there. However, last year when he was having success, all they had was sometimes healthy Alshon Jeffrey and then nobody else at wide receiver. So do you think that he could be kind of one of those late-round bargain tight ends, kind of maybe like a Gary Barnidge?
I think he definitely will, and I don't think that the other targets there are going to be bad for him. I mean, it's the same thing. Cutler is going to gunsling the ball. He throws it. That's what he does. So having Alshon Jeffrey and Kevin White on the other side, and then having him the ability to spread out the middle, along with Langford and Kadeem Carey in the backfield, I think that there's a lot of area to open up that he could easily be a steal at that tight end position that nobody's going to be looking for, because that's the same thing. There's nobody else over in that tight end position for him to fight for. Martellus Bennett, like you said, left to go to New England. I think that he could be a killer pick in that position, and it's that same thing where Adam Gase left, so it's hard to judge how that offense is going to go. But I know that Zack Miller has the skill set and the abilities to be a good tight end, and I don't think that getting the wide receivers back is going to be a negative for his numbers.
Yeah, right now his ADP has him going pretty much in the last round, 18th tight end off the board. And he's a guy that I would really love if I miss out on a Zach Ertz or Jordan Reed. If I wait on a guy and draft a really high upside guy, I would like to pair him with a guy like Zack Miller, who I think has a better single game floor of probably 5 targets on 5 receptions.
I was going to say, at least a few more targets than that you would hope for.
Yeah, if he's only getting 5 targets, I'll stay away.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like a 5 reception, 70-yard, touchdown here, touchdown there, kind of a tight end. At the end of a draft, I love it.
Yeah, especially because it's something that could even come in as a flex bye-week filler if you happen to run into that trouble where throw a tight end in there and you can get, like you said, 12 points, 13 points out of a flex you weren't expecting. That's great. And if he ends up being something so much more, a huge red zone threat, it's hard to believe that when you've got 2 big targets like Alshon and Kevin White on the sides, but you never really know. So it's that same thing. If that Bears offense just starts to generate and move, he's going to be a big beneficiary of it. And I like the talent that they have on that offense. I love Jeremy Langford. I love Alshon Jeffrey, and I've said it before, Kevin White would have been my favorite wide receiver if he came out of this year's draft. So I've got nothing but good things to say about that offense. I just hope that losing Adam Gase regresses. It doesn't regress them. I don't know how he's still somebody that I want to talk about, but how is Antonio Gates still somebody that we can talk about? I mean, it's that same thing where I don't understand. He's still so good. He keeps getting up in age, but he just continues to come out and perform. What do you see from him this year? Do you see he's finally going to have that drop-off? I mean, they did draft tight end out of Alabama coming in. So
Arkansas.
Oh, Arkansas. Thank you. Yeah. Do you see that he's going to take anything away from Antonio Gates, or you just think that Gates still just has that work ethic, that mentality, that Tony Gonzalez type mentality where he's going to keep playing until they actually have to physically carry him off the field? Where do you land on Antonio Gates? Could you see owning him in any of your rosters this year?
Yeah, right now he's going in, I think, about the 12th round, and that's an area where I would consider him if I'm drafting him and then maybe a younger guy. I don't think that Hunter Henry is going to take a lot from him this year, just because we've seen tight ends, they're one of the harder positions to adjust to at the NFL level, and so we don't really see even the better tight ends in the league, except for Gronk, because he's Gronk, have an impressive rookie season. So I think that job is still Gates. He's still going to be one of Rivers' favorite targets, and I think he's going to have a lot of high upside games like he had last year. So, while I wouldn't be too excited about drafting him because he is pretty much a fossil by now, he's one of those guys who, while not a sexy pick, could really help you win week to week.
Would you see him in the range? Where do you see him in the range of somebody like with Ladarius Green, with Ladarius Green's injury? Would you pencil him obviously below Ladarius if he's healthy? Would you say that you think that they're going to get maybe the same type of production, or do you think that Ladarius Green, as somebody who we haven't quite talked about in this podcast, do you see him having a top 5 type season based on the offense that he's going to be playing in, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers, if you're unaware?
Yeah, and this one might get me some enemies on Twitter, but I would actually rather have Antonio Gates this year because we've at least seen him, even last year, have proven production. With Ladarius Green, it's been a big play here, a big play there, and he had 4 games to really show that he could be that guy in San Diego when they let him walk, because while he produced okay, he didn't seem like the heir to Antonio Gates, and I think that's part of why they went out and drafted Hunter Henry, is because they wanted to find that heir. Granted, Ladarius Green is in a fantastic offense with a great opportunity if he's fully healthy. But as someone who's been burned by these, boom or bust high upside tight ends in the past, I would rather go with a guy like Gates, who I feel has a proven track record and is going to get the ball.
Yeah, you also know with Pittsburgh Steelers that there are so many people like Antonio Brown's going to get his. It's not like bringing over Ladarius Green, all of a sudden he's going to be a 1,000, 1,200 yard receiver and Antonio Brown's going to drop down to 1,500. Or Le'Veon Bell's not going to top 15, 1,600 all purpose yards because Ladarius Green is there. So I'm with you. Antonio Gates has been there, has still generated huge games last year. I know plenty of people had Ladarius Green for those first 4 games expecting him to be Antonio Gates, and then Antonio Gates came back off his suspension and was Antonio Gates. I think he had 3 touchdowns in his game he came back. So just one of those, he's proven he can do it. He's proven he can do it year after year, and at the ADP he is, you're probably getting him as a second tight end, so why not? I mean, there's way worse to me. I would rather have Antonio Gates than Julius Thomas. Once again, we've seen Gates do it in that offense. We haven't seen Julius Thomas do it without Peyton Manning.